drop is getting worse. Let's look at some beaten down names. PayPal is just extremely beaten down. It is something that we're in. We've started accumulating pretty big positions here just because of the level that it's at. So it just hit the round even number of 100 today. That is pretty wild price action in PayPal. And you're coming into some major support here. Again, if you look at PayPal, let's just flip to the weekly as a indicator. Let's just take off all of the moving averages so it's easier for us to see. PayPal is so oversold. Look at that drop. That is an incredible drop. If you want to know the definition of a bubble by looking at what a chart looks like, this is it. This was a bubble, and the bubble just popped. So let's analyze PayPal here for a second. So you had this initial drop here of roughly 12%. But if you incorporate the full drop here, you roughly fell 41% in PayPal. 41% over 126 days. So if you look at here, we've roughly fallen now another 48% in 56 days. So you've fallen more percentage points in less than half of the time. So it just shows you the power of the downside move. Despite this, from this high to this point looks bigger, on a percentage basis it's actually a smaller drop. This is why I do think we're into that capitulation stage in PayPal. If you notice the volume, it is massive compared to really any point in PayPal's history. That is capitulation volume. It's a standout volume bar. And that is a clear technical capitulation bar down there. And then there's always a little bit of selling before it makes around the bottom and has that ripple effect. But PayPal, in my opinion, is getting to such good levels. It's still considered a blue chip company. Yes, it's e-commerce tech, and it does have some exposure to Bitcoin, which Bitcoin's going lower. But PayPal as a company is here to stay. It's not going to go under. But this stock is a clear oversold name that has to have a bounce. As it's swung so far out of an equilibrium. Basically, the stock market is one big scale. It has an equilibrium in the middle, and then it either swings to the right or swings to the left too much, and eventually it swings back to the other side too much. And in this case, this is swinging way too far to the downside, and it has to have an oversold bounce, which I'm expecting here. Couple key levels, if you flip back to the daily, have them marked on the chart. Definitely be adding at the gap fill. It just so happens to be a major pivot low here in 2019. So that's a key level. Also, there's another gap fill down here. You could fill the full gap by going to the double bottom. I personally don't think you're going to go to the double bottom because that was the COVID low. You have to remember that was like that scary washout low. So you can imagine that we've negated pretty much the whole COVID bubble and we're trading down here. So we're lower than when it was trading before COVID. Also there before COVID. And what's interesting is that at the end of the rate cycle, I think the market bottomed here in 2019. And basically we're coming up to those 2019 levels after the rate hiking cycle completed in 2018, 2019. Rates started hiking in 2017, but really they ended late 2018. And I think the markets in certain stocks bottomed late 2018, 2019 from memory. And this is why I want to show you also another oversold indicator. Now the RSI is not something that you want to use by itself, but it just does support your overall thesis in the sense that PayPal has never been this oversold for this duration of time ever in its stock history. So anything under the 30 RSI, basically these dotted lines here, you have oversold, which is above here, and you have overbought up here, and then you have oversold down here. We have been in this oversold category now for basically 33 days. We have been, tomorrow will be 34. And we're coming into levels where we're not the lowest on the chart that we've ever made. That was 2018 after the interest rate cycle bottomed, height cycle bottom. And we're coming into the lowest point that we've ever been at. But we are at the point that we're the longest duration of being oversold ever.